Going.
Hi guys, I'm Alyssa Stewart. I'm with the Historic Arkansas Museum, back today with our Thursday Education Live, and I'm here today to tell you some spooky Arkansas stories just in time for Halloween. So, we're gonna tell some spooky stories that are native to Arkansas, some folklore that came from our home state. So, firstly, I'd like to tell you about a man named Vance Randolph. So Vance Randolph was an incredible student of Arkansas and Ozark folklore. He was published in the American Journal of Folklore many, many times, and he was elected to the Society of American Folklore in 1978. He wrote 4 volumes, I think, of folk songs, and if you would like to read more about him and many, many folk tales from Arkansas and from the Ozarks that are a little less spooky than the ones I'm going to tell you today, then you can go on online to the University of Arkansas's collections, which you can access from any computer, and look up Mr. Vance Randolph, and you can find out a lot of the stories that he wrote down that were previously passed down orally, that he got down and published, which some of those I'm going to tell you. So the first thing we're going to talk about are the natural steps. So the natural steps are 2 big vertical sandstone, like big vertical pieces of sandstone. They're north of Little Rock, but still in Pulaski County, off of Arkansas Highway 300. So if you're going to go visit, that's how you get there, and you can type it into your maps. Your maps will know how to take you there. There's a lot of little Arkansas legends that are associated with the natural steps. One is that there was a large Masonic meeting there, and there's a memorial there from 1876 that will tell you all about it. One is that Jesse James and his gang stayed the night at the natural steps before in the morning they got up and robbed a stagecoach coming from Benton, and they were on their way to Hot Springs to stay at the spa just to relax, him and his outlaw gang. The natural steps also, there's a rumor that nearby a Confederate gunboat was sunk so that Union troops couldn't get the gold that was there inside. So if you're looking to do a little treasure hunting, you might start there and get looking for some water, so that you can start your search for a sunken gunboat. One of your other legends features a young bride named Martha Sanders, whose new husband, his name was Gustavus, died just really shortly after their wedding. And they lived together in Little Rock, close to the natural steps. And she was very devastated after her new husband died. And the grief-stricken Martha disappeared just a few days after her husband died, and she was never found. And this myth lives on as Martha appearing at the natural steps as a woman in white, which is a specific kind of ghost among those of us who love spooky tales. A woman who appears always in a white dress, maybe a wedding dress, maybe not, and she apparently appears at the natural steps every October. So if you want to go catch her, you might head down there pretty soon. A woman in white even is that, like I said, a specific type of ghost who appears because they've lost a loved one, and maybe they died of a broken heart, or a loved one wronged them, and they're trying to find that loved one, or even get revenge if they were wronged by that loved one in the afterlife. And so in Martha's case, she's a woman in white, supposedly, because she's trying to find her husband that she lost. She's wandering around the natural steps looking for her husband. You can go and try to find Martha, because right now is supposedly the time that she's appearing. So, another of our spooky tales from Arkansas that we're going to talk about is the Girden ghost light. So that's in the city of Girden, and it centers around the railroad tracks that run through Girden. So the tale begins with a railroad worker who was fired from his job. He was not doing what he was supposed to, and he was fired from his job, and he was very angry, and he lashed out after being fired and killed his supervisor. And the supervisor, supposedly, the legend says, returns as this light to keep doing what he was doing in life, to help guide the trains at night. Supposedly the light moves in the way that a railway worker carrying a lantern would move. It's a Missouri Pacific Railway, and it helps, like he was guiding the trains at night, so he would carry that lantern to help them see if there was a crossing happening. This ghost light has been photographed even. You can find photographs of this one online, which I found very interesting. And if you would like even more information about the Girden ghost light, there's a 1994 episode of a favorite show of mine, Unsolved Mysteries, about the Girden ghost light. And you can see that, I believe on Amazon Prime. All the old episodes of Unsolved Mysteries are on there. So you can go and see that one and hear a couple of different versions of this legend on that episode. So if you go and watch that, drop some of your thoughts down in the comments for us. We would really appreciate that one. The last little spooky story I'm going to tell you is something I've heard a lot about. And this one reaches even beyond Arkansas. It's a popular urban myth or urban legend about the man with the hook hand. It centers on a couple going out to a lover's lane who they're on a date, and they go out parking, and they hear on the radio that an inmate has escaped from jail, or that someone has escaped from an asylum, like near where they are, and one of them gets very scared, but the other one, comforts them and says, like, it's okay, like, don't worry about it, nothing's gonna happen to us, we're fine. And eventually time goes on, time passes, and then they hear some scraping on their car, and one of them has to go out and investigate what that scraping sound is. And of course, it's our man with the hook hand. And so our member of the couple that went out to investigate doesn't come back. And the one that stayed in the car is scared and wondering what's going on, and is just terrified, and she starts hearing the scraping again and wonders what it is, and then comes out to find that it's the sound of their partner's fingernails scraping on the top of the car, because they're hanging from a tree that's above the car, and they're scraping on the top of it, having been killed by the man with the hook hand. It's a little scary, kind of hold the flashlight under your face, tell it around the campfire story. But it originated right here in Arkansas, in Texarkana. In the 1920s, there was a slew of murder. I am so sorry. This was in the 40s. There was a slew of unsolved murders that happened to couples on lovers' lanes who went parking. They're called the Phantom Killings, the Texarkana Phantom Killings, and they're still unsolved to this day. And it wasn't necessarily a man with a hook hand or someone that escaped an insane asylum. Those things kind of came later, but the first two victims even survived and saw their assailant, but he was still never caught. And to this day, we don't know who it was. Curfews were put in place in Texarkana, and people were terrified for a long time, and these killings kept happening, and then eventually they stopped. A couple of years down the line, they quit happening, and we don't know what happened. The killer moved or died or just stopped, and it's still unsolved today. There's a lot of there's books and podcast episodes and TV episodes that you can find about this one, and the really widespread urban legend about the man with the hook hand coming to get lovers on lovers' lanes in their cars comes from right here in Arkansas. So, thanks for listening to our spooky stories. Very seasonal, just in time for Halloween. We hope you have a very happy Halloween this weekend. I hope you look up our guy, Vance Randolph, and see some more Arkansas folklore. Come and visit us here at Historic Arkansas Museum. We're sitting here in the log house. If you want to come and look at Block 33. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you again soon.